Hey everyone, welcome to Nailed It, a podcast powered by Parker Huggett. A big warm welcome to Jennifer Burstein on season 2's first episode of Nailed It. Jennifer Burstein brings 20 years of experience in the GTA construction sector, mainly within the mixed-use high-rise sector. And she's worked for notable firms such as PCL, Collecdev. If you could give us an introduction of who you are and your tenure in the industry and a little bit about your story and career path, that would be awesome.
All right. Thanks, Matt, for having me on your show. A little bit about myself. Let's see. I'll take you back 20 years ago. I was a graduate of McMaster University in civil engineering. And when I finished school and started in the workforce, it was like there was two streams. You can either go into consulting or be an engineer. And there was contracting or boots on the ground construction. It wasn't really a welcome space for women back in the day. But I managed to find a really unique position with a boutique developer in Toronto who was building some very high-end condos. And it seemed like a good fit, and it really was. It was my introduction into the construction and development world in the high-rise market. I really thrived there. I stayed there for about 6 years. We built some really unique projects in Toronto. Got a lot of experience in the field, in the office, through the development process, like the full cycle of a development project. And from there, we had a little bit of a blip in the market, 2008 to 2010, but it provided me with an opportunity to join the team at Trump Tower. And so I went to Trump Tower to build out their 60-story building, which is now at St. Regis in Toronto, which was a very unique experience, again, on the high-end side of residential real estate. And once I was completed at Trump, I took the opportunity to join the biggest construction company in Canada, PCL. And I joined PCL as a project manager. I would say PCL is like getting your master's degree in construction. It's an incredible work environment, a lot of training, a lot of mentorship. It was a great experience, 6 years there as well. From then, I got the opportunity to join Collecdev. They brought me on board in 2017 to build out their in-house construction management division. With that time in the market where there was a huge boom, a lot of construction managers were working third party for developers. They were busy. They were hiring anyone they can get their hands on, really. I was with Collecdev for 7+ years, building out a team of construction management professionals. And we've got 11 towers across the city. Very most recently, I've branched out to start my own construction management firm, which is NOVI BLDS. So really exciting, new time, new venture, lots to look forward to.
It's pretty incredible what you've done, taking all that experience from PCL and your other stops throughout your tenure to building out a construction management firm within the mid to high rise space I think it's amazing. And to do it during a downturn also speaks to the confidence that you bring to the table as it relates to your skill set and the team that you've built with NOVI BLDS.
Thank you, Mark.
During that journey, what would you say is a situation where you've nailed it, AKA had a success with a higher personal situation that's led to a professional positive outcome? What positive experience could you share that would be a highlight in your career?
I think the highlight in my career was building out the high-performing team I had at Collecdev. It was a really strategic approach. We didn't mass hire, and you were with me through the process too, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. I was very particular with the people that we brought on board. It wasn't necessarily about their hard skills or the experience that they had, but more about the character that they brought to the table. And one person may bring something unique over another. And so it was strategic in the sense that if I brought in a particular individual, it may have shifted my mindset on the next hire and who would fit well with that person on that particular project. And so it was a slow progression over the 7 years. And we managed to get ourselves up to about 30 people internally is what we needed to perform on our 4 projects at the time. And it was a really well-oiled machine. And we did a lot of internal promotion, internal training. We focused on developing the talent within. And we created a really excellent culture. And we had incredible employee retention. People really enjoyed working there. There's just an overall sense of satisfaction and achievement in what we did.
I appreciate that because outside of the buildings that you own and you build, I would say the biggest asset is your people. And I love how you just focused on that. It's an accomplishment to build 11 buildings, but you really focused on the employee experience from your perspective and those that you hired, which is refreshing. What challenges or seeds were planted in your career that led you to have such success at Collecdev?
I think when I look back on the experiences of some of the younger employees, they may not have felt so valued or at least seen the direction or path that they can achieve in their careers. And a lot of companies rely, especially the bigger ones, they'll rely on those boxes needing to be checked. In order for you to jump from an assistant project manager to a project manager, you must have completed X number of dollars worth of construction in this amount of time frame. And it's really just so singularly focused. And it lacks, at least I felt even in my career, I lacked the ability to move up unless I put myself in a position that wouldn't have been mutually beneficial for myself or for the company. Or an example would be to try and achieve a $300 million project at the time would have meant working on a big P3 project, a hospital build, some infrastructure work, which is not where my expertise lied. And so for me to achieve that in residential would have been a series of towers over a series of years. And I just felt as though it was short-sighted in that you don't really appreciate the value that employee can bring in a certain direction. And there wasn't enough focus on the character skills that person can bring to their roles and to the benefit of the company.
There's so much more beyond the job description, and the human being at the end of the day it's just all about top grading, right? Are people in the right positions, and are you getting the most juice for the squeeze? In your opinion, Jen, what does the general contracting and development industry in Canada do really well?
Yeah, I think we do a series of things really well beyond the technical aspect of what we do. I think from a human aspect, we have a huge knowledge base in our industry. We have a lot of experience. Our fundamentals are there. And I think that's what helped us through this downturn that we're in right now. But there's something to be said about mentorship, a superintendent training an assistant super in everything that they know, or project manager training their coordinators, just building up that team for future success is something that I think that we do really well. It's the knowledge sharing that's important. It's not a negative market in that sense, or it shouldn't be. I don't ever want to see it that way.
Do you think that there's some solutions to the talent gap, or what were some of the things that you implemented at Collecdev to ensure that others got trained and mentored? And did you have a candidate go from site to site or department? Was there an art and science to it to cover those gaps?
I think it's more of an art than a science, maybe. But the one thing that's great with having an internal team in a development company is that we're not siloed groups of people on different projects, right? When you work for a bigger construction management firm or a GC, oftentimes they've signed a group to do a single project, and you go out onto that job site for 3 years and you might not talk to anybody else beyond the social committee meeting that you have at the office. But it was really great for us to be able to share. My supers were sharing their experiences from site to site. We had consistent project management meetings where the project managers would share their insights into what they were doing, give each other a hand on projects. The nature of having a smaller team as well, that we can collaborate in that way, but also that there's not a huge sense of competition amongst the teams either. Your experience should be my experience, and your challenges and your victories are my victories as well.
So you're just destroying all the silos that you typically experience where people lose that lessons learned or experience shares from colleagues, bring a site experience to an office experience and vice versa.
Yeah, I think that the transfer of knowledge between site and office is really important too, but even between project to project and site to site, right? Lessons learned is a huge part of our business. They're okay to make mistakes, and you always want to encourage people to fail safely, but repeating those mistakes over. And so being able to share in the errors and the lessons that you've learned in the past and ensure that those don't happen again, that's a critical aspect of the process.
Amazing. And what do you feel the construction and development industry's biggest challenge ahead is?
Aging workforce, unfortunately, right? As we all know, there's a big skills gap right now. I think that we're selling to our youth this notion of entering the construction and skilled trades industry, and it's predominantly financial as opposed to really focusing on the pride that you would get from building the buildings that you build. There's nothing better than driving through the city and pointing out a tower and being like, I built that, or I had a part in that, a hand in that. And just being able to be a part of the developing skyline and understand that it's not just a job for sewing buttons on teddy bears or dealing with widgets. Like it's a constant challenge. There are a tremendous amount of strategy and planning, and there's so much complexity to what we do in construction. And there's just a huge sense of fulfillment in getting through all of that.
That's amazing. And in your opinion, why do you think youth should strongly consider a career in the construction development industry?
I think just that, the ability to truly say that you had a part in something. It's a tangible piece that you're leaving behind, a building that should be there for the rest of your life. And there's something exciting about being able to just take pride in that. And it's a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours, but there can be so much fulfillment in what we do. And I think as things change too, there's so much more innovation in what we do, and that curve is going up in such a high trajectory. There's the ability to be a little bit more creative in the roles that we have too. It's not as traditional as it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you were walking into a CM firm and there were 5 roles for you to take on, and you had to fit in the box of one of those 5 roles. And now we're starting to see new job titles pop up, new different levels of experience necessary and needed on our job sites. And so I think that there's even more of an opportunity to be open and creative.
And I know you touched on the legacy aspect of the pride of you driving down the street and pointing out to your kids or friends that you partake in a large team that built a number of projects and very recently had 11 towers under your purview, which is just incredible. In addition to the technical piece is managing all those people and personalities and recruit, train, motivate, and ensure those buildings are built on time, on budget. I'll stick to recruitment. Thank you. And getting into the future, tell us a little bit more about NOVI Builds and this new entrepreneurial venture that you're going to.
Of course. I think NOVI Builds is going to bring a different perspective to construction management. And I think the biggest thing that we bring is that full life cycle experience. So coming out of a development company, we're not just a CM that's focused on construction management alone. We have a lot of development management experience as well in-house. So we understand the bigger picture of the project, and we understand how to read a pro forma and understand that the project has needs beyond just the construction of the site. It's important to understand what occupancy means and registration means thereafter, not just the city gave us the permit to move someone in. We understand what the end goal is of the development companies. And so I think that's one aspect that differentiates us from some of the other CM on the market. I think that we'd like to do is shift the narratives with respect to reverse incentives. And so you see a lot of construction management companies, they're great at what they do, but they have interesting incentives. In other words, if they take longer to build their project, they get paid more money. They make more fees at the cost of the developer. And so I want to be able to have that complete, open and transparent relationship with developers where we are fixing fees and removing those reverse incentives, whether that's honoring labor at cost even. So it's not about putting more bodies on the project because more bodies make us more money. The project should be serviced exactly as it's required to be serviced with the right number of people assigned to the project. The other thing is there are some companies out there who do their tender negotiations, whatever it may be, with trade contractors, and they don't invite the developer into the conversation. And I think especially when you're operating in a certain business model where the developer actually holds the contracts with the trades, it's critical to have them at the table and to just have a really transparent process. So there's no dishonesty there. Everything is very transparent, and we're working collaboratively together to achieve the ultimate goal of the project, which is to come in on time and on budget.
I think for the listeners, it's super inspiring to see that you graduated a university, worked for one of the franchise players in the market, took this entrepreneurial opportunity with Collecdev and now became an entrepreneur to leverage all that experience. It just really shows that the sky's the limit in this industry.
It can be. It's all about the choice that you make. It's about the relationships that you build. And ultimately, it's about the reputation that you hold, right? And so you've got to be careful not to burn any bridges throughout the years and keep those relationships positive. We've seen such a shift in our industry. The peak of time, the ball is in the trades court, and they can decide whether they want to work for you or not. Now things are a little bit different, but I'm confident that in the next couple of years, we'll flip back over to the way it was 6, 8 years ago. It's important to be flexible too in the way in which you operate.
I love it. Thanks so much for making the time and sharing your story and experience with the listeners, Jennifer. And yeah, I'm so excited to hear more about your future with Novi Belts.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Matt.